because each individual is different. Now, the way they learn, the way they express also is different. That I have seen, particularly nowadays. If you look at the stigma question, will not tell, because I remember when I joined the IIT, I used to check the JE paper. But today is all machines, like all tick, 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 tick. But now a person, might have gone through in a process, or he might have used a very different way of solving the problems that we used to check earlier days, and we used to keep mark. And sometimes we learn. Sometimes I remember that I was not right. My, like evaluators who is above me, checking. He told, "Oh, wow, the student has having a very good things. He didn't get. He has given a new answer. New way of doing the thing. Answer may be wrong, but that is the thing where the person can learn. Even I, in during my teaching career, I have also seen. I've learned by assessing the students' paper, and which is has to be done. So therefore it is having. So coming back that, what is the key features of this OB, outcome based education? I've already talked about it, and let me just repeat that it is a flexible and alterable means of accomplishing the learning goals. What is that objective? So that has to be looked at, and also how to implement, how to do that is one has to look at in a very nice way. And for that, one has to work it out. As we used to do, that we are having a course file, like whatever course file we keep it, like whatever we teach, we come back and write it down, and see that whether it is having kind of things. And whatever a student, suppose he has given a very different way. See, nowadays what is happening in teaching, of late I have seen, but when I joined IIT Kanpur, it was little vigorous. Some of the students are very good, and they were discussing. But today, in the same place, same department, I am finding difficulties. Why? Because as your chairman told, they are just inert. They were not interested. They're not, as if they're not listening, right? So you'll have to provoke them. But still then, sometimes what I do, I ask the questions and I answer the question and come. Let me tell you, a teacher who is asking a question, is answering the question, is a butcher. Why? Because he will not make the student to think, not the react. So, but the student today, it is not the student alone. Let me tell you, so also the teachers. The entire society is very much engaged. They don't have time to think. They don't have mind to think. And according to my assessment, it is because of overuse of the what you call the technologies, and also there is no gap in that time frame, because all the time we are busy. Best hai, trust hai, so must hai. So therefore we are having these problems. And if you look at, all of you might be aware that total there are 5 P's what we always talk about so far outcome based education is concerned. One is paradigm. What is this paradigm? That is basically, if you look at it, is the new way of looking at the thing, new way of doing the thing. That means it is not the very fixed or a very mechanical way of doing all the time. You can, keeping these objectives in mind, you can change your methodology of teaching, methodology of assessment, and also the activities what you will be providing. Today, of course, the people talk about activity. Earlier days, we used to give assignment. Now people are giving some kind of a, what you call case studies and other things. But unfortunately, this is when we talk with them, but in reality is not there, to my knowledge, because to have that, engineering education has to change a lot in our country. it has to be undergone a very drastic change, practical, because most of the teachers in engineering, including me, we do not have industrial experience. According to my personal view, as we are not engineers, we cannot produce engineers. That is a very simple. We may talk, but it is not really, not possible. And that too, in industry, if you look at, if earlier days, I remember that when I was a student, I had taken 2 months of training. But today, the training, the industries are not interested, because the number of students what we are having today, no industry can allow to that, and they are having very high competition. They are not interested to impart training. Even at that time also, training was not that good, let me tell you very frankly. So the basic purpose, if you look at what is that purpose, why we OBs will be, why? Because we want to ensure the student to be successful, in life. That is the success for all students and staff. That is really one has to look at it. And we want to have the knowledge, competency, and qualities. These are the 3 key words what being used about that. But those has to be looked at it, and particularly after they successfully exit from the education system. In other words, what they are trying to say, that whether these students who are being trained, let's say in mechanical engineering or in the civil engineering or any other engineering, whether they are having adequate knowledge to perform their duties as an engineer, or competencies or qualities. But what is that? After the leave, that means who will take care of that? What are the things? We don't have database, and then data has to be looked at it. It has to be done, and it is a ongoing process. And of course, we do not keep in fact, except that whenever we want, we'll ask them, maybe after 20 years, 25 years, alumni meet, they will come. They will tell some, and then you'll find some of like large number of people are not in engineering. They may be IPS officers, they may be IAS, there may be some, nowadays, of course, a new terminology has come, technocrats, or some company or something which is doing some other things, kind of thing. So therefore, they are away from the engineering. Of course, some of my colleagues, they always say that it is, their knowledge, that the core values or the core competencies have helped them to prosper or go up in their career. So, and really, what you call that is outcome, basically restructuring and operating education institutes, like how the institute will be looking at, that is also another thing, because one is the teacher level or the course level, and other is your what do you call it? The question arises, if you look at this paradigm, and we can ask a question: hey, what is the role of a teacher? If I ask this question, what is your role? Are you a content, deliverer? And you are just content delivery. Today, content delivery is having no meaning, because the content is there in the Google, like our several resources. What they will do? Again, it comes back to that what always we think what we do, and what do we teach, and what they learn. This is a question we need to ask, and that is basically you can say that it is nothing. That question has given given to the outcome-based education, because these questions is very important. We never ask this question: hey, what do we teach? What do they learn? Because I know that you, let's say I have given A grade to a student, and after 4 months or 5 months, I'll ask, okay, can you tell me what are the things I taught you? Very few people can spell out what they forgot, forget about. So even if remembering what was the earlier days, that is not there today. So therefore, what we need to do, we should look at not as a dictators or a thing which will be dictating that how to the instruction. See, if you look at the instructor, what itself is a very derogatory according to me. We'll give instruction how to teach, how to learn. how to learn. Sometimes I laughed at myself that our education starts at the age of 2 or 2.5 nowadays, okay? And so many years we have not taught till engineering, even PhD students, that we have not taught how to learn. That means what is going on. So therefore, but however, in higher education, teachers also role will be there. What is that? That is, they will be basically a facilitator. What is this facilitator? I would put other way around what our scripture has described. A teacher is basically a friend of a student. Chhatra bandhu. Chhatra mitra. Of course, the mitra definition is a little, I will not dwell upon it. It is a very good thing today. To get a friend is a very difficult job today at this moment. So what question arises, what and whether student can learn successfully is more important than when and how they learn. That is the questions what we need to ask. And we'll have to ensure the learning outcomes are reflected in the students. And that too, how we'll get that? Through individual attention. For example, I'm teaching a class of 60 students, and even some classes have taught 450 students. Is it possible for a teacher to take individual care? No, certainly no. That means the class size has to be reduced drastically. If it is 10, it will be great. If it is 20, it's okay, but not more than that. Right? Now, these are practical reality. One has to look at it. How we'll give individual. Number two, a person, a teacher, is trying to, teach 5 courses or 4 courses. Is it possible? No. If the students are having what you call a lot of courses, he'll be running parallel, that he can give time to students, teacher to have interaction. See, let me tell you, all those systems were there earlier. There is a proctor methodology was there, it has been gone. That means each, from the very beginning, the students will be allocated to the individual teachers. They will be like their guardians, like in a college. But today it is not prevailing. Even if it is there, it's not functional. So when you talk about this outcome education, one has to look at the earlier system, which is having efficacy, has to be looked at also. And then question is to ensure structuring and operating learning environment, because the job of a teacher is basically to provide a learning environment ecosystem, rather nowadays being used very much, so that we'll have to see whether he is able to learn of himself. What is the best method of learning? If I ask this question, what is the best method of teaching? If I ask this question, very few people can answer. Generally, people talked about lecturing is the best form of teaching. Am I right or wrong? Am I right or wrong? Are you getting my point? Of course, there might be not a way of taking a question answer or kind of things. Look to me. Let me tell you, according to me, lecturing is the worst form of teaching. Lecturing is the worst form of teaching, according to me. Lecturing is being talked about, is being going on in our country because we learn from Western countries. Go back to our ancient methodology of teaching. Lecturing was never there. Okay, like for example, I am now talking. You are just listening. You may be listening actively or passively. But let me tell you, all people cannot listen passively.
We are listening actively, sir.
Huh?
We are listening actively.
Actively, but all cannot happen because that is your not nature. See, there is a Sattva gun, Raja gun, Tama gun. Okay, right? You may claim, but it's not possible. Because the nature, Mother Nature won't allow you to do that. Let me tell you, I will not get into those concepts which are very innate to the Indian, because most of you might not be aware, and even if aware, you may not appreciate. So I will not get into. So therefore, active learning is not possible for all the people. It's not possible. And also that depends on your situation, your mind, so whether you fight, already fought with your spouses or children and come to this in your state of mind, like it's a very, so therefore these things has to be looked at, like what kind of things will be given. And it will also depends on what kind of students you are having. Shraddhavan lavate jnanam. Shraddha hai kya? They are having intense desire to learn. See, they have come to get a job. If you give a job, they will be happy and go. Then what will do with that learning? See, it is not. All the time people blame teachers. I told teachers are also responsible, so also the students. So therefore, you will have to look at what kind of environment you will give so that you will be excited. You will be interested to learn. And also what is his motivation? That also matters. For example, nowadays, a lot of people are interested in startup, right? And I will tell you, the youth are today, people are talking about youth, but I will look, where are youth? That question arises because youth are having certain characteristics. Enthusiasm is one of the characteristics. And of course, the youth enthusiasm goes off at a very faster rate. Sometimes I say it moves at a supersonic speed, and then comes down very quickly. So their teachers comes into picture to guide, because that is their innate nature. It's not that because youth are there today because of that, and earlier it was when we are the students also we are having similar natures, but now it has been amplified because of this market-driven, market forces. Because market is playing a very role because of this communication systems, improvement in. So coming back to that, what are the premises? Premises is, let me tell you, I'm very happy when I look at these premises. Why this? What is this premises? They assume, at least, they have realized of late, Western people, that all students are having capability to learn and succeed in some way or other. That means there are 2-3 things are coming out of this. That is what? One is that each individual is different. But each individual is having infinite power. And that is the thing what our scripture has talked about. That means हमारे अंदर दिव्यता, भव्यता और असीमता मौजूद है. We are divine in nature. We are having infinite power. And that is the objective of education, what they have of late understood. Taking the clue probably from our scripture, and we do not know. And therefore, each individual is potentially divine. That is the job of a teacher, is to see that how the dignity, infinity can be manifested. And that will be the one objective. The teacher cannot be ordinary person like me and you. Teacher is the thing. That is the, I always emphasize. And teacher ko banana nahi jata hai, teacher banna padta. See, nobody can make a teacher. But what is happening today is that the people, set of people, they have never been teacher. They are trying to make the teacher. And also the teacher, they don't want teacher. See, teacher is a feeling, is a passion. What Dr. Nagabhushan told, it's a passion. And if you do not have passion, passion cannot be generated, Passion is innate journey. So therefore, this is and also each individual student has to be looked at carefully.